Hello, my name is Isaac Pitman, and for my capstone project for GCU, for my Master's in Educational Leadership, I decided to focus in on the topic improving our communication with our off-campus stakeholders at my high school, Rio Mesa High School. The problem statement that I was able to conduct and conclude to was that the issue of live communication and involvement for our community, from the community at Rio Mesa, has led to staff and admin feeling like their for correction, both as behavior, academic involved interventions, as well as overall preparation for the next level of school post high school, has fallen on deaf ears. Our admin team feels like they've only heard communication from stakeholders, off-campus stakeholders, excuse me, when things are bad. Things aren't going well, you'll hear from them. But at the end of the day, doing to being devaluing school, staff and some staff have this began to give this assumption that the community has shown that education is not a priority to them. And they view us as more just facilities they could use and places they could eat than a place where they could learn and be supported and become lifelong learners. And I want to really change that narrative. My research question is rooted in that. How can we give our community stakeholders a voice in shaping our school's culture, policy, and discipline? We need to make sure that our stakeholders are involved in this process. Because oftentimes when we have an issue, if our parents are not involved in the process of building some of these core values, they might not know how to implement them or support them. We want to really establish 3 or 4 main core values communicated across multiple platforms so that our students have this consistent message regardless of the environment they're in, whether it's in our classroom, the field, the house, or even in our community areas. If we can make a consistent thematical message, we will see an overall change in our both school and our community. Now, why is this topic? Again, I kind of highlighted it a little bit or brushed over it. School location has caused a huge issue for this in terms of communication and involvement. Because we are a rural school located in basically farmland, we're not in a neighborhood district, meaning that most of our students are being bused in either by school buses through our school bus routes that are ran, or also the city bus drops these students off to us. So what that means is that our parents are not, this school is out of their way or not naturally towards our school or towards our families' housing locations. Teachers have felt like they've got no support. That's really another reason I spoke on it earlier. Just refocusing it. The lack of support is not from support from the admin, but support that these parents aren't supporting us. Um, we just restarted the PTO this last school year, and that's awesome. But we it started off with only 6 parents, and we'd love to celebrate those small wins. As I've talked about, we want to really focus in on the small wins that I'll get moving on towards. But we want to make sure we have more parents than 6, and we want to really work on getting that involvement up a notch and bridging the gap. Just bridging the gap between off-campus stakeholders and on-campus stakeholders will improve the life for all of us. It improves the life for the students, improves the life for the staff, families. When we are realizing that we are all on one team with a common goal to better the students and better the community around us, we can really make a generational change. And again, at the end of the day, I've seen that through communications and conversations, our off-campus stakeholders really do value our students' education. They've just never been taught. And that's on us as the professionals. We have to teach that. And that's something I'm going to go into a little bit too. So, what do I hope to learn from this? As I began this topic, what did I hope to learn? I hope to find the root. And I believe that through my research and through some of my communication, I found the root of our problem, or what a couple of roots of our problem could be. I identify some of the best communication channels based again on what my data and research I conducted. I think I found some of our communication channels that are really working well as ones that we needed to improve upon. Um, Through this, you get to learn what the off-campus stakeholders really want. I want to hear what they want. How can we help you? How can we educate you? What don't you know? Um, and so really getting that process going, as well as just celebrating the small wins along the way, because this issue's been going on since I've been at Rio Mason. I'm in my 5th year right now. And so we've had a big communication issue basically since coming out of COVID. How do we it's going to take a long time before we get back to the levels that I dream of and I would hope for. Long over, since this class will be over, this class will be long gone by the time this progress is fully, hopefully complete. But I'm just celebrating those small wins along the way is really what I want to focus in on, especially for my staff, my admin team, as well as our off-campus stakeholders, that our change is happening and it is improving the school and community around us. So leads me to my pre-research hypothesis. What did I think was going to happen before I got after it? I thought that some of the reasons was involvement was doing the demographic. I thought our demographic of our school is probably the biggest reason, just our social economic status, our demographic is low. And so I assume that would be it. And not being properly educated. I believe because of our social economic status, we do not have the highest levels of education amongst our amongst our family members. And we need to make sure that we are educating them on and communicating them in a way that supports them. Some key factors I assumed played into it. I assumed that social economic status of our families and communities played into it. I thought that was going to be a factor. I believe that the educational history, as I stated, is going to be a factor. The location of the schools I spoke on earlier, I think is a geographical and realistic factor. And also just the work demands of our family. Our parents and families have multiple kids, work multiple jobs. It's hard to attend a back to school night or open house at 6 p.m. when you're just got off work at 5:30 and you haven't gotten home to eat. And so I think our time constraints are a big issue. And again, my data that I present to you and research from the voices of our community and stakeholders might confirm that. So the history, you got to know a little bit about the history of Rio Mesa right now. And Rio Mesa is about 70% Hispanic community. That's been a change over the past 10 years due to our boundaries changing. And we'll talk about the boundary changes in the next couple slides. Our feeder schools are Title I schools. We do have Title I feeder middle schools that have dual enrollment, English and Spanish. And we are a Title I schools ourselves, meaning most of our students do apply and approve for free or reduced lunch. This also means that we have students of multiple languages. We do have language barriers, English and Spanish, and have English language learners. And that means parents and families of English language learners who might have never learned English or spoke English beyond when they had to at a restaurant. Our families are very emphasis on character education. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. They really do want their students to be respectful, but that respect is more in a street world and like intercommunicational world than in the academic world of respecting the value of academics, respecting the value of teaching, support, processes, tutoring, like discipline. So those are some of those issues that I've noticed that we want to bridge those gaps of what parents are saying that as well, building good students, building good humans, and now we want to turn those good humans into good students, and that's through communication. Lastly, though, athletes and extracurriculars are extremely important to our community. Extremely. Our facilities at Rio Mesa have led to a bunch of community events. We have a junior Spartan football team where it's our Pop Warner within the city of El Rio. We got about 200 to 300 kids out there every night out there playing football, as well as the cheerleaders cheering for them at practices. We have our weight room that people come in and use. We have our community pool that is used for swim lessons over the summer, as well as training for some players and people within our community. We have our basketball gym that people come and use for tournaments and events. And so we have a lot of great athletic facilities, and our athletic events draw a huge crowd of parents in attendance. And so, how do we use those to help us improve our communication and involvement from our off campus stakeholders? As I spoke about earlier, we talked about how our boundaries changed. About 10 years ago, Rio Mesa was reboundaried because of a new high school opening in Oxnard Union High School District, which took our students that used to go to Rio Mesa and sent them to Camarillo High School. Rio Mesa and Camarillo were our rival schools, and they were neighboring from each other. But one of the biggest excuses, I'm going to say, from our staff was that we lost all our parents to Camarillo. That's why we don't have any more support. All our parents left. We don't have support anymore. Well, from gaining access and talking to the people at the district that run the data dudes, they ran the data of our parent educational levels both at Rio Mesa High School as well as at Adolfo Camarillo High School. And this is where I believe some of the big data lies. We did not lose our parents. Our parents changed. As you look at the data in black right here, as you can see, it shows that 54% of our parents did not attend college, compared to at Camarillo, 19.4% of their parents did not attend college. That's a huge difference, guys. That's a huge difference to my viewers. If you look at this, it changes our style so much of how we need to communicate to them. Our English language, ELs and REFEPs parents percentages, we got up into this low parent, we got 27%. 76% and 67% compared to the 50% that Camreel is lying in. We have some massive language barriers as well as educational barriers from our parents. I believe in the saying, styles make fights. Well, I believe our school, Rio Mesa, has been trying to fight in a way that in the way that the parent demographic we used to have. We need to change the way we fight. We need to change our style of how we communicate and approach to reach this demographic of parents. Because if you compare the numbers, you see that really we still have about the same amount of parents, plus or minus maybe a couple hundred, maybe a couple hundred. But we actually do have the same number of parents. So our parents didn't leave, they changed. But have we as a professional group of adults changed? No, we just expect them to try to get to us. And so I believe this is some of our root, and the data really shows this to us and shows that yes, the educational level of our parents is not at what it once was, but that is not does not mean that they left. They just changed. As I continued to mine for data, as I spoke with representatives and admin from our district, I got access to our Youth Truth data. The Youth Truth data is a survey that's sent out to all schools in California. And it talks about qualitative responses in terms of how do they feel like people are treated, how do they feel like things are going on. Again, the last slide was quantitative. This is qualitative. In this first question, does staff treat families with respect? The feedback and responses we got from our school, it put us below the state average. So the view of the families is that the staff members do not treat the families with respect. And I believe in the next slide, we'll talk about maybe why. And as we spin it back and flip the sides of the table, do families treat staff with respect? It shows that Rio Mesa is still still low. The staff doesn't feel like families treat them with respect, and the staff doesn't feel like families treat them with respect, and the families don't feel like staff treats them with respect. And so we have this collision and this divide that is rooted in lack of respect. And I believe that could be fixed through proper and honest communication. Now, again, a couple other pieces within the Youth Truth data was that students and families care about each other. It shows that Rio Mesa is better than the last one. We're basically right at the state average. So caring is possible compared to the state. We actually do care about each other. I think that's where we talked about the character values. Our families and staff, we care about you as a human, but I can care about you and not respect you. And I think that's some of the disconnect that's leading to some of our frustration, both from the staff side as well as from the parents and off campus stakeholder side. But this is where I think the big issue lies. I feel comfortable with speaking honestly to families about their child's progress. Rio Mesa lands dead last in the district and way behind state averages. If we cannot be honest, we will never get respect. If we can't communicate honestly to our staff, if we can't communicate honestly to our families, if we can't communicate honestly to our students, you will never get the respect. They'll they'll care about you. They will care about you as a human, but they won't respect you because if we aren't honest and have honest communication channels, how do you expect them to get that respect towards you? And I think that's something that I really think lies at part of our big roots of our issue. Now, to summarize it, Title One school. Rio Mesa is a Title One school. We have feeders of Title One schools. The data shows that Rio Mesa has parents of low college education level. That's the reality. That's not a knock. That's just the reality we have. And how are we going to move forward from it is the next couple of things I want to indulge us in. And staff and families clearly have this divide of respect. There's a divide. And I think communication is the root of the divide, but also communication could be the root of the mending. And again, staff doesn't feel comfortable telling the truth. We have to equip them how to tell the truth. And I think in my next couple slides, we're really going to speak on that because I believe if we could tell them the truth, you will see our staff and our students and our families come together for a common goal, bettering the community and the educational experience for our students. And that is what we are passionate about at Rio Nation, what I'm really passionate about, and why I want to really improve this communication. So, assumption statements regarding why we have this problem. I walked the halls of Rio Mesa. I was catching parents at the end of practices or games and asking them, why do you think this is a problem? Why do we think we don't have parents involved? And again, some of these responses, some staff think parents don't care about our education. I don't believe that's true, but that's a belief. Due to where we're located, spoke on this. A lot of them like to go to the location statement. Parents work all day. They can't get time off. How am I supposed to go to a PTO meeting if my parents are working till 6 or 7 p.m.? We don't know how to get involved, and I feel like we hear about opportunities after they happen. That's a huge issue. I want to fix that. And we have not made getting off campus stakeholders involved a priority at our school, but yet we want to solve the problem. I think that's the money statement. We as a school have not made it a priority. We as a staff, we as an admin have not made it a priority, yet we expect it to change like a priority. Well, this is why I decided to do this topic. This is why we think we can get this to be done. And most importantly, if we do this and start to make it a priority, I believe you'll see change occur. That's what I'm really, really hoping for through this, and hoping that this continues to go beyond my time in this class. So I sent a survey out. I did my own research after mining a lot of data, breaking it down, communicating it, researching it. I decided to do my own research. I decided to take matters into my own hands as we've spoken about in my program. I sent out a survey to staff of parents with the following 3 questions. First question is, how often do you communicate with parents? Why do you think we as a school have such a hard time getting parents to these events? And what would you do to improve keeping parents informed and updated about how to get involved at Rio Mesa? 3 questions. I emailed this question to all my staff members, all staff at Rio Mesa, and as well as I sent it to one of our admin member and had them put it on our weekly newsletter and send that out to all of our parents. So this qualitative data was sent to both parties and had about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks ish, 2.5 weeks to response time. And here is going to break down from the first question. Our first question here, it shows us that staff versus parent response. How often do you communicate with parents? Well, for my staff answer, we got about 53% in the monthly category. That's what that color is. And from our parents' answer, we got basically the same thing, 62%, 63% of monthly. So that's the most common thing. The biggest thing that I noticed from this data, though, is that in our staff answers, and you'll see this when I submit the slides or view the slides from your screen, 28 responses. Parent answers, 35. As I spoke about earlier, they both got the emails. They both got it sent on different platforms. It was out there for the same amount of time. But I only got 28. I got more parent responses than staff. Yet the staff want to make the statement and the claim that the parents don't care about this, that the parents don't want to care about communication. Personally, this makes me start to flush all the excuses that our staff members start to make. At the end of the day, when we have been presented the opportunity to try to make change and involve in change, and I see more parents wanting to get involved in this change, it shows me that we have not prioritized it as a staff. And that really hurts me. But I know that that's where the root of the problem is. Now we have to move from there. Because since our staff has not prioritized it, how do we expect our parents to get involved better? It cannot be a bigger priority to our parents to be involved with school than it is our staff. Now, the next question I looked into. Why do you think schools have such a hard time with parent involvement? I made some word clouds. So I took these qualitative responses and I made 2 word clouds for each response so we could kind of summarize and view the data in a manner that is more presentable to my viewership. The staff answers. Why do you think? Their top response is parent. They're saying we got the parent, we got work going on, we got language barriers. I agree, those are big ones. School. So I think those are some of the big ones. But our staff, the biggest thing they say is, why do you think we don't have it? The first thing they're saying is the parent. I don't want to, again, I love my staff and I support them as much as I can. But if the biggest thing that we're saying is parent, it makes this assumption feel like they are pointing the finger that it's on the parents to get involved, not on us. The parents' answers, if you take a look at from their responses, was work was a big one. The struggle of getting off work to get here to these events is extremely hard and understandable. Time, that's a big one. I believe time was one that was shared between the staff and the parents. Time. It's hard to attend these events in time, especially if you have multiple children, if you have other places to be, depending on when you get off work. Time is a hard one. And the schedule, again, That's a big one. Being able to fit it into the schedule. It's hard to make it into the schedule, and that's those are some of the biggest reasons both of these two parties believe that we have had such a hard time getting parent involvement. Now, my next question was, what do you think could we could improve? Because I wanted to provide them the opportunity on how to improve. Not only did I want to hear what they thought the problem was, I wanted to hear what their solution to the problem was. Again, what do you think the improvement is to get parents updated and involved? Our staff, again, biggest word shared in this one is parent. I believe in this situation, again, are they blaming the parents? I think it really speaks on how do we talk to the parents. That might have been why it's the most common word. But the one they shared is communicated. We have to improve communicated. Emails, text, that was a shared one. Events, calls, using our platforms we have. Those are some of the biggest ones that I see spoken about. And I think that's really what is the root of it, is we have to be communicated properly. Better communication channels. And I think that will lead to overall improvement of our family and off-campus stakeholder involvement. But these word squares really bring that to light, just showing that communication is a huge one. So now what? We got all this information. What do we do from here? Well, now that we know our demographic and how we can improve our and educate our off-campus stakeholders, I have three action plan ideas that I believe can really, really help take some of the good that we have and build upon it, as well as focus in on some of the areas that we need to work on inwardly, both as a staff, as well as working on as the parents' involvement side. Now, my first action plan, use what's working. We as a school actually do have a lot of good tools that are being used. It's unfortunate that the parents aren't using them to the highest level or reviewing them or responding to them or getting involved via them, but we do have a lot of good tools that are being used. So let's lean into those. The next one I want to lean into is social media use. I think that we have entered this new era of education, an era of parents where we have parents on social media platforms checking those more often than checking their emails, which means if we want to get quality information out from either our school, our admin team regarding any issues, I believe social media is one of our biggest and most influential avenues that we need to lean into and utilize more that we have not been, and supporting staff on how to communicate honestly with parents. Like, if that's a big issue and we cannot have the respect of the families, and the staff doesn't have the respect of the families, we need to learn how to communicate honestly. Because if this is all about improving the communication is a two-way street, and we as staff need to learn how to be better equipped on how to communicate and navigate all the conversations that may arise with us as professionals. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. I really believe that. I really, really believe that, guys. Things that have led to huge parent involvement. We've had events. If you come to our football game, we got the sports section here. You get a massive show up of parents at our sporting events, whether it's football, baseball, girls softball, girls basketball, boys basketball. We get a lot of parent involvement. Our parents show up to those. When we have our IB art show, we host an IB art show that is done phenomenally by one of our teachers, Miss Kim. And it is so great, and it gets so many parents, so many alumni out there. Everybody's enjoying it. Teachers are out there. It's a great night. It's one of the best events we put on. Our dance show is another one that Miss Scholler puts on, an amazing event that does wonders for our school, wonders for our kids' confidence. But it gets a huge amount of parent involvement. That's awesome. As well as our award events, when we do Spartan of the Quarter or any acknowledgement of our awards assembly, our athletic awards night, like you're getting we pack out the stands with parents. Well, how can we use these events to get better parent involvement is what I want to use. I would say we could get into things like using digital square, putting videos on these things that can help pass information, using these events as platforms to outreach and communicate to parents to say, hey, I love that you are attending here. Would you like to please show up or attend one of these meetings? This would be a great way to get that connection built so that our parents, when they're physically in front of us, we approach them and try to find a way to get them involved in our school because they showed up because they care. I believe that's the biggest thing. They care about it. Next one is using the digital platforms we already have, guys. We have great digital platforms. Parent Square has done a great job communicating, sending messages as a teacher to all parents, sending messages as admin, sending just individual communications. Our weekly newsletter that has been sent by our admin team, Mr. Jimenez, as well as Caroline. They have done a great job sending these weekly newsletters that have helped get parents' involvement and help them stay informed as best we can, both in English and in Spanish. And our Minga messages. We've been sending out Minga messages that have done a great job encouraging parents about their student, at alerting them about some behavioral corrections. So these are some great tools. If it's not broke, don't fix it. We just want to make sure we really emphasize it. Possible ways, again, to add what's already working. Have students get acknowledged before these events. I think whenever you have students getting awards or acknowledgement, as my mentor, admin, teacher kind of talked to me about, they're going to show up. If a kid's getting an award or a kid's getting acknowledged, the parents are showing up. So what if we use our PTA or booster club or back to school night open house events, any of these big events that we want to have more parent attendance, let's use these events for student acknowledgement. Have a student get an award. Have a student even maybe speak at the event. Let them take the reins, because if a student's presenting or a student's being acknowledged, parents and staff will show up and listen. Providing off-campus stakeholders with mass message QR codes. I kind of alluded to that at the football games and our dance shows. If we have those events and we just at the end or beginning of it put on the jumbotron or screen a QR code. Hey, want to get involved at Rio Mesa as a parent? Please scan this QR code, and it can help them fill out the survey or fill out a way to get better involved or connected to us as a school, so that we have better ideas of how to best serve our community. Using the events that already have our adults there to help them bridge that gap of connection. Again, making parent square videos and recording them is also great. I think one of the things that we could use and utilize is virtual meetings. One of the things our parents brought up about and our staff brought up about is we need to lean back into virtual meetings. We could send out a Google Meet code and have our PTA meeting, our Booster Club meeting stream from a Google Meet, so parents can just pop an AirPod in or a headphone in while they're making dinner or whatever they're doing and listen to the PTO meeting or the Booster Club meeting. So they're still in attendance and they're still gaining that information, but not having that physical transportational commitment. I think that's a big barrier. And what I've learned the most about this program is we want to eliminate excuses and find answers. And so I'm really trying to help find an answer that we could add to digital communication so that our events are still attended by our parents, even if they can't physically be there. Again, we need to use social media. I think that's the biggest thing. Using social media is huge. Instagram is our biggest platform in this process. I was given the access to the Instagram account, and that's been a great resource. And so leaning into that has been great. Social media, Parent Square, weekly newsletter, Minga has been great. I think a lot of times, though, when we spam them with Parent Square messages, it can start to get flagged as junk, which means they're not viewing it. If we start to spam them as Minga text messages, they might start ignoring the number or blocking the caller. So sometimes when we spam them from just these two platforms, it can lead to them naturally just starting to push them away. But the use of social media and the algorithm that's naturally built into social media's Instagram and Facebook's portfolio, it will naturally keep spinning and pushing our content as a school out in front of the faces of our followers so that they stay informed and connected to whatever's going on. Again, how can we do it though? How can we do it? One of the features I believe we could use is our collaboration feature. I think that we could use the collaboration features to help us collab with posts, where the main account, which I have access to now and I've been using, can accept a collaboration from one of our sub accounts, whether that's ASB, whether that's one of our clubs, whether that's our athletics account, our boosters account, our PTA account. We could use a collaboration because the collaboration feature allows us to get our mass messages out regarding all stakeholders. It allows us to share followers, bridge and build connections, all those really good things that are extremely important for us as a staff and a school to make sure that everybody's staying informed and being connected to the proper resources and information. I think if we highlighting and leaning into that collaboration feature, as I have since I've gotten the account, has bridged our following, has improved our viewership of our account, and at the end of the day, kept our stakeholders informed. So the results so far, again, I took this action plan. I wanted to apply it. I didn't want to wait till, obviously we didn't want to wait. We want to apply it. This is the Instagram account on the left before I got access to it. So 3 weeks ago, after I met with the head social media person, Brianna Millen, at our union, at our district, we spoke about the proper use and access to our school account. This was the following count from our school account when I first got it, 2,338, about 433 posts. In 3 weeks since I've gotten it, we have gone from 230 238 to 230 or 2,367, but also improving our view count. And it says by 1.4, 1,438. Is that what it said? Yeah, 1,438, 1,400, 143.8K. I apologize for that misspeak in the last 30 days. It shows a massive improvement. That speaks to the algorithm Instagram naturally has to pushing our content into the faces of our stakeholders and any connecting stakeholder we have. Again, the next steps of this, as we're speaking on it, is getting to our back to school night post and using the collaboration feature so it's shared with our shared accounts, as well as continuing to provide mass messages and learning from our staff and our admin team what information we want to produce so that our community is more informed, not only how to get involved, but also what's going on at our campus. Now, how do we make sure our staff speaks honestly? Again, breaking it down to three steps. I would say get to know the parents. Really get to know them, learn their story instead of assuming it from their child. A lot of times, us as staff and adults and the staff sitting in the room, we assume the parent just based on the child we interacted with. Get to know the parent before you start jumping to assumptions that the parents this or that just because their students having a bad day or reacted. Really get to know them and let them learn that you are on the same team trying to better their child. Last one, create clear lines of communication. We talked about it, Parent Square, Minga, phone calls, emails. We have all those tools that are already great and provided. Lean into them. Let's use them to the best of our ability. And accommodate language barriers. That's the biggest one I would say too. Let's accommodate our language barriers. We understand that we have a dual enrollment school. We have school students that are speaking English and Spanish. We have families that only speak Spanish at home and parents and grandparents that only speak Spanish. So we need to make sure that we apply our tools to make sure we can communicate in whatever necessary language we need to. So the solution summary, as I get to the end, the solution summary, it comes down to 3 points. We are the professionals. As I've prepared the solution with the data highlighted, as we mined our data, as I researched and did my own survey of data, as I provided some of my solutions to this issue, as I wrap this up, we are the professionals. Sometimes we need to realize that when dealing with a problem that involves people, we are the professionals. A lot of times, as I talked about with the survey, our staff thought it was on the parents. Guys, at the end of the day, we are the ones that need to figure it out. We are the ones that need to solve it and provide answers and solutions that could best help them. We are the pros. The last one, we must leave our egos at the door. A lot of times when we start to involve parent communication or other brands of communication, off-campus stakeholders especially, when they start getting to speak on what they believe should happen or what should be changed, we can't build our ego up and be like, you aren't a teacher. You've never been in the classroom. You don't know what you're talking about. We can't put up the ego walls or the walls of playing the victim. We have to open lines of communication and accept any conversation or criticism that may come our way and learn how to navigate through it. Because if we can't let our egos lay at the side, when we have these conversations with parents, they'll see right through it. They'll see that we're just checking a box and not truly valuing their opinion. And we will still not earn that respect that we are seeking so that we can all come together and make a solution that's best for our students and our community. And lastly, we have to remember who this is for. I know it's the cliche leader 101, but don't forget your why. You know why we're here. We are here to better these students. We are here to get the students consistent support needed to be successful post high school. We want our students to walk out of Rio Mesa and know that my parents, my family members, my school, they all were supporting me. They all tried and were trying to support me and preaching the same message in that effort. It takes an army to take a kid to become great. It takes an army to get a kid to graduate high school. And if we aren't all moving that boat and fighting that fight together in the right direction, it really puts us in a hard spot. And so, as a professional, we must leave our egos at the throne. We must remember why it's for the kids. It's for the kids. We have to better ourselves for these students, for our families, and for our communities. Because as we build this reputation and build this standard, as our students come and go and our parents come and go, the standard never changes and it reaches and impacts our community beyond. That's the root of it. Better communication should lead to a better community. Better community leads to a better school, and a better school leads to better students. I would love for that to be the reality. I would love for that to be the case, and I will continue to do my part for my roles of leadership, and I will continue to take my action plans into effect and take feedback and ideas from anyone who is willing to communicate with me. I thank you so much for your time. These are my references. But again, thank you for listening, and I really appreciate this project, and I cannot wait to see how this improves and impacts our school beyond just getting me some points for my master's. Thank you so much again for listening, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me via email or phone call.